We start with a Mets game that I have zero recollection of. I was 8 years old when this game took place, and after exhaustive research, this is the oldest living, breathing scorecard from me that I could find, which makes it the first. It is simultaneously the George Washington of my scorecard collection for being the first, and the Millard Fillmore, because I have no memory of it ever happening. I'm also taking the leap of faith that this is the genuine article, because I trust that my parents never threw out an earlier scorecard that could have been my first. So, for the sake of my psyche, I assume this is the legit first time I ever laid pencil to scorecard. I've asked my father what got me into scoring games, and the truth is scoring games actually got me into baseball. My dad has been a diehard Mets fan since their inception in 1962, and a season ticket holder since the late 1970s. So I obviously grew up in a household where the Mets were religion. But my older sister was the one who went to games with my dad and sat there for all 9 innings without an issue. I was the opposite. Apparently, as I've been told, I could not sit still, and my dad eventually abandoned the idea of taking me to games alone. Granted, I was between the ages of 1 and 6 at the time, but my sister, who was only a few years older than I am, was a real trooper. I, on the other hand, was a terror to take to games. I would cry, complain, and just flat out not watch the game, while my sister was a little angel. So while I would still go to games, it would only be if my mother was there too, so she could keep an eye on me. As nuts as my dad was about the Mets, my mom could not possibly care less. So she was the absolute perfect person to essentially babysit me while my dad and sis would enjoy the Mets game uninterrupted. I got a lot of my craziness from my dad, including my propensity for keeping records on everything. He actually kept a complete list of games we attended as kids. I was able to look at this list and study it, and I noticed a trend. Starting in 1991, when I was 7, the games I attended started to increase, while my mom and sister were going less and less. It started to become just me and my dad. What the heck happened? Well, I started pounding him with questions about baseball, and somewhere along the line, he brought up scoring games to me. He probably figured it would distract me from losing interest in the game. Little did he know he was slowly creating a monster. I went to 21 games in 1992, and the 9th game I went to is apparently the first game I scored. His master plan worked to perfection. Learning about scoring the game and then perfecting my process of doing it got me into baseball in a big way. Based on the stories my dad has shared, baseball didn't get me into scoring, but scoring got me into baseball.